And so I just worked up the courage and I actually reached out to somebody on LinkedIn, of all places, a cold LinkedIn intro email or message, and kind of just crossed my fingers, quite honestly, that somebody was going to reply. And thankfully, somebody did reply, and then I ended up kind of getting shepherded through the organization, which is a big organization. But yeah, you just kind of have to go for it, honestly.
Hello guys, we're here back at Collision, day 3, and we're here with Jennifer, the CEO of Somm, who's also recently made the acquisition of DINR.
Yep.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and both the apps, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So a little bit about me. I am based in Toronto and Vancouver now. I'm Canadian. I was born and raised in Edmonton, studied finance and business law, and I moved out to Toronto about 12 years ago, had a career in finance, but always loved great culinary and hospitality. And so when the pandemic rolled around in 2020, I think like a lot of people, you started to do some soul searching, see what you wanted to align your time with. And I decided to start a passion project, which is ultimately how Somm got started. And my thinking at the time was that we could help people make better culinary experiences at home. We were all cooking all the time. And so the app originally got started, as the name kind of suggests, as a sommelier in your pocket. And so we have this great food and wine recommendation engine that's in the app. And then from there, we just started to evolve into more experiences, events. We started working with restaurants, we started working with hotels, wineries, lifestyle brands. And then more recently, we acquired DINR, which is super exciting. And it's one of my favorite things lately. And you can basically unlock same-day reservations at Michelin and similar caliber restaurants, not just in Toronto, but Montreal, Ottawa, now Calgary, and soon Vancouver as well. So yeah, it's super, super indulgent. Yeah.
You heard it here. Make sure you go get your reservations on DINR last minute.
Yeah.
Actually, about DINR, I've been using it before you guys bought it out, before COVID and before it shut down. Yeah, so I was always a fan of it. Luckily got Quetzal back then on DINR, and then Somm, as soon as it came out with the Amex Platinum. My dad has one, and he enrolled in it.
Yeah.
And I'll say I've made good use of it. I've gone to the Annex. I've gotten a couple of good discounts. I've gone to Azhar on Ossington, gotten a good discount there.
Yeah.
So it's been useful, and it is a great app to have. So make sure you guys download it.
Yeah.
But on that note, so what are your future plans looking like right now, and where are both the apps headed? Are they in their own spheres, or are they commingling in between somewhere?
Yeah, so right now they're starting to commingle quite a bit. You're going to see lots of kind of cross promotion or opportunities if you're on the DINR side looking for reservations to elevate those experiences within the Somm platform, and vice versa. If you're on the Somm platform, and whether you're part of the wine club or the new non-alcoholic beverage club that we just launched, or just making use of the app and the experiences, then you can access the reservations and kind of just really starting to get both of the user bases familiar with each other, because the ultimate plan and what we're already working on is to merge the two into one. And that's where this notion of a concierge in your pocket really starts to take shape. And that's the vision ultimately. We want to bring together the very best of dining, hotels, and we focus more on the luxury hotel market, the boutiques, not the big chains. And then some of the major and awesome lifestyle players out there into one succinct app. Because today, if you're showing up in a city you don't know, or even exploring Toronto, which is an awesome, world-class city, you're looking at OpenTable, Resi, Talk, 7 Rooms, TripAdvisor, Expedia, Booking.com, Airbnb experiences maybe, and that's a lot for the high-value consumer and someone who appreciates great culinary and hospitality to kind of sift through. And so we're really trying to streamline it and only work with the best of the best in one application.
That's awesome to hear. So I'm curious, what happened that made you, ideate in the first place the idea of Somm? Was it just that you were a foodie like myself?
Yeah.
Or,
pretty much.
Nice.
Yeah. It was literally, July 2020 is when the idea kind of first came, and obviously, Toronto and Montreal were in endless lockdowns because of the pandemic. And so everyone was just cooking, more than they probably ever planned to in their life. I don't cook that well, so I was like, you know what, I need to elevate this experience somehow. And one of the things I really missed from going out all the time was that wine pairing experience, and that how food and wine comes together, food and beverage for that matter, can really just play off each other so well. And that's a space that, unless you're trained in wine or you're trained to study the different nuances and kind of factors of it, like people just generally don't know, and it can be intimidating at times. And so that's literally how it started. I was like, you know what, I want this tool. I want to be able to improve my own experiences. I'm sure other people do too. And it really just started totally for fun, totally as a passion project, and kind of took on a life of its own pretty organically after that.
Yeah. So I've been a Somm and Diner user myself for a while now, and the fun part about it is they host events.
Yeah.
Usually once a month, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we ran into each other at Art and Bubbly back in February, if I'm not wrong. And it was a beautiful event. There was a Tacit Collective there with their art that showed up. And that was actually the first reel I made ever
on
my Instagram page. Yeah.
Woohoo! That's
so great. Good. Like, the world's small, and we're back here. So it's great to see you again.
Yeah, you too. And we do tons of events. We have this amazing one coming up at the end of July, and it's going to actually be all about caviar and champagne.
Oh, wow.
It is going to be at one of our restaurant partners, DINR restaurant partners, of course. So that'll be an extra indulgent one. Yeah.
I'd love to be there.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how did the Amex partnership come about for someone who's starting off in something like this, or starting an app, or even just a restaurant? How did that come about, and how did you start off the app with a partnership with Amex? That's huge.
Yeah. So you have to be courageous, first of all. That's kind of name of the game if you're going to actually put yourself out there and be an entrepreneur. But especially when you're just getting started and capital's limited, you need to be as scrappy as possible, and you also need to somehow get word out there. And so because we had started in the pandemic, which some might say starting a hospitality tech company during a pandemic that totally decimated the hospitality industry, bold move. My thinking was that, we need a distribution partner. We need a really well-aligned but far-reaching group that we can associate ourselves with. And the thinking I had was that credit cards, especially the higher end credit cards, they often have a ton of travel benefits, earlier access to, board the plane, or maybe an airport lounge, or hotel benefits, things like this. And their demographic, and it's not just Amex, like Visa has excellent, cards as well, as does MasterCard. But my thinking was like, if I can get aligned with a credit card that has this kind of demographic that is very well aligned to what we are doing within the culinary and hospitality space, what a great partner to land. And of course, as soon as I was like, you know what, that sounds like a good idea. No one's traveling right now. They're probably looking for a new solution, a way to keep their, card members engaged with something that they know is going to play into that persona. I thought, Amex is kind of the number one to try.
Right.
And so I just worked up the courage, and I actually reached out to somebody on LinkedIn, of all places, cold LinkedIn intro email or message, and kind of just crossed my fingers, quite honestly, that somebody was going to reply. And thankfully somebody did reply, and then I ended up kind of getting shepherded through the organization, which is a big organization. But yeah, you just kind of have to go for it, honestly.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I mean, there's so much uncertainty with the future right now, with AI coming in. Are there any plans to involve that, like generative AI into the app?
Yeah.
What's going on?
So we absolutely have plans to make the app experience more personalized. And that's how we're going to be integrating AI into our kind of roadmap. And, when I think about, planning that maybe upcoming trip to New York, or this weekend away in Toronto, or maybe in the future you're going to Paris, and, we've expanded, which we absolutely plan to expand globally. We all have different palates, tastes, preferences, ways we like to spend our money, different recommendations that we want to get that are tailored to us. And that's like the perfect opportunity to bring in AI into our ecosystem. And we're not that far off from getting that ball rolling.
So let me ask you this for the viewers. What's your personal favorite vineyard in the GTA or in the Niagara Horseshoe region?
Oh, okay. So I really love 13th Street.
Okay.
And the reason I love a lot of them, but 13th Street is the one that comes to mind right away because they have an excellent art gallery also on the property.
Okay.
And so it's not your typical space where you can come in like to a winery and just kind of sit there and drink wine. Nothing wrong with that either. But this one is really nice because the land is a little bit more sprawling and you can kind of sip as you work your way through outdoor sculptures. They have a couple different bistros and restaurants on site. It's casual. I was there a few weekends ago. They had live music. You know, Rosewood is another excellent one. They also have, they make honey.
Yes.
And so that's delicious. Promoret's an obvious one. It's excellent, but they actually don't do public tasting. So the thing to do there, of course, is dine at the restaurant. But they have this excellent bakehouse as well, right in Jordan, really cute town. Stratus was probably my first winery that I fell in love with in the Niagara region. Just top quality. They have a really cute back patio, and they don't mass produce their bottles really, so you always feel like you're getting something a little special. But you know, the Niagara wine region has really come a long ways in the last several years, really leaning into the varietals that they produce well, which is, you know, in my opinion, the Pinot Noirs and the Ontario Gamay. But you know, there's some really good options, and Prince Edward County is coming along too. And
I've heard.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what comes out of there. So let's talk about the future for the app. Where are you guys headed? Any plans for expansion? Any what direction are you going?
Yeah. So kind of like what I mentioned earlier, we're really bringing kind of everything into one location. So being able to book excellent hotels, being able to have those excellent reservations, obviously the experiences and events, those are going to continue, and just pulling it into one succinct platform. So merging the two platforms is like our number one priority right now, and then getting, you know, growing outside of Canada. So we are about to announce a pretty meaningful relationship with a major global reservation player, which is really going to catalyze our footprint and our growth. And you know, as a Canadian born and bred tech company, like that's something that I hope like everyone can be really excited and proud about too.
So have we heard that here first?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome,
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
That's great to hear. I'm curious. So being from the media world and the marketing side of things, what are some challenges that you've faced in the marketing world for something like Somm? Are there any regulations that you have had to, you know, deal with? And also curious on a tangent after that is, what about the non-alcoholic beverages? Those are growing, and I know you guys are taking that on pretty well with like Soft Crush on the app and a couple of other players up there. So what are your thoughts on those?
Yeah, so to answer your first question about like regulations and things, you know, that's a space that I like to stay as far away from as possible. And so we've always had a partnership mindset, not like obviously with the Amexes of the world, but also with the hospitality players. And so we work really closely with various wine agencies and importers that are, you know, very well regulated within the Ontario market and able to bring in really interesting products into the Ontario market and across Canada. And so we kind of partner up with our partners to make sure that our customers and our consumers and our hospitality partners are all getting access to some of the best products that are available. But we get, you know, to kind of stay outside the tricky part because we're basically relying on our partners to do the procurement and the logistics and the delivery and all of those kind of things. The non-alc space is super exciting. And we just launched our non-alcoholic beverage club about a month and a half ago, I want to say.
Wow.
I think we just officially announced it a few weeks ago. But
that's awesome.
You know, like the non-alc market's booming, and the zero proof industry tastes a lot better today than it did a few years ago.
100%.
And
agreed.
there are some really, really excellent products, and it's not just de-alkalized wine, although there is some of that in the program, but it's, you know, phony Negronis and great cocktails and spritzers and things that, you know, you still get that same kind of buzz from the socialization of having a beverage, but not the alcohol. And I think, like, you know, that's a space that millennials and Gen Z especially are really leaning into, and I've been leaning into. There's obviously wellness aspects to that, but you just want to stay sharp, or maybe you just don't feel like drinking. Like, there's the connotations really changing and changing for good. So we wanted to make sure that we had our foot in that door and that we had something to offer. So yeah, Grand Cru Zero is what it's called. Yeah, we're really excited about it.
Awesome. So unfortunately, we have to wrap up. Our time here is over. But if there's anything else you want to leave the viewers with, I'd love for you to take the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they follow your lead and become Somm members and download DINR and start booking all of great reservations.
I hope so.
Coming out to events and experiences.
For
There's
sure.
lots to have fun with. Yeah.
The events are amazing. They're a lot of fun. You get to meet some really great people. The artists that come out, like that came out to Art and Bubbly, she was beautiful. Like her art was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great networking opportunity for those of you out there. That's how I ended up here. So that's a start.
Amazing.
So thank you for taking the time out.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Appreciate it.